As reports are suggesting, UCLA defensive coordinator Bill McGovern may be on the outs. So, I've got two potential candidates, one in-house, one out-of-house, that UCLA should think about having as a defensive coordinator. Who are those? Let's talk about it. Locked On UCLA.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, it's your favorite host. It's Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer here on Locked On UCLA. Thanks for tuning in each and every day. It's free where we get your podcast. And thanks for making it your first listen. It's also available on YouTube. So hit that red subscribe button. And thanks for your support. So let's get right to it, because UCLA, they might be looking for a new defensive coordinator, because just like with LinkedIn jobs heading into 2023, want to match open roles with people who have the skills, values, and experiences that can help you achieve those 2023 goals. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. And the conditions we're applying to this is that there's not any official reports. I saw rumblings on social media before I saw the Bruin Report Online article of sources saying. So a lot of it is hearsay. A lot of it could be, was it Bill McGovern, who announced so profoundly during the media days at the Sun Bowl that he would be returning for 2023. And it looks like indeed he may not be. And whether it's health reasons, which were the reasons that he did not coach the majority of the 2022 season, or other, we do not know at this moment. But he was out unspecified fully, at least publicly, other than just an illness. They have not come out and said anything else. He said he was energized and ready to go and come back and coach in 2023. And now that does not seem to be the case. So there's not any other to report other than simple speculation, which is interesting, because almost a year ago at this time, we were all wanting Jerry Azzanaro out, and then all of a sudden, UCLA hired one Bill McGovern almost a year ago to the day of this podcast, near the Valentine's Day, from when he was officially hired to when he was reportedly brought in on a 2-year contract for, I think, the then 60-year-old Bill McGovern, with vast experience as a football guy, and went up and down in terms of what Bruins fans thought he could and what he actually did this season. And we're not here to debate that. But even looking through social media and scrolling from when he was hired through the entire season, there is a split fan base for us Bruins as to was UCLA a coach availability away from being a true Pac-12 contender and missing on the Pac-12 title game, considering what happened down the stretch? Or is it the meltdown at the end of the Sun Bowl with the prevent defense and allowing Pitt to go down the field in less than a minute and score the game-winning field goal in a game where the Bruins practically had it won against Pitt with all their backups, practically, a majority of their backups, in both offensively and defensively, and the Bruins couldn't come away with the win? That left a lot of sour tastes in the mouth of Bruins fans, myself included, but I was intrigued to see what he could have done in 2023. For now, we're left wondering, is he or is he not the man to be? Well, let's talk about who are the guys that can be UCLA defensive coordinator in 2023 if Bill McGovern's not the guy. One is easy. Everybody could say, hey, it's Ken Norton Jr., the linebacker coach, a Bruin who won 4 straight bowl games in his collegiate career. We have to say it. He started one of his coaching career at USC. Yes, we have to say it. La, la, la. We skip past that. Yeah. Ken Norton Jr. started his coaching career emphatically with the team Crosstown, but he has been a 2-time NFL defensive coordinator with the Raiders, with the Seahawks, and depending if you're a fan of one of those teams, I am, and you could have different opinions. But I think translating to the college game, he could be a very good recruiter when you put him and elevate him potentially to a defensive coordinator position. And considering the Bruins with their linebackers, that could be one of their more intriguing units, getting at more out of what they have, whether you have a Mwasa who just transferred over from the previous season, had second team All Pac-12 honors. You have the exciting prospects of John Vaughns. Even Kane Medrano had a pick this year. You bring in Femi Oladejo. You can have an interesting defense, and especially with wonders, hey, Brian Norwood was the DB's coach. There's been no word about him, and they brought in a new DB's coach already. Maybe elevating Ken Norton Jr. could be one of the two shakeups this defense needs, and while it might not translate into 2023 uber success, I think, hey, a Bruin who's gone through the NFL ranks, and you can debate whether his defenses were truly successful. He has worked with some of the best defensive players in the NFL all time, at least recently, with some of the guys who are at the peak of their powers. Ken Norton Jr., hey, when UCLA's rush defense in the Pac-12 was number 3 and second in the league when it came to yards per rush. So depending on how much you attribute that to when Ken Norton Jr., we could just say, hey, that could be a good fit. Guy that's got experience, NFL experience, and could probably go bring in recruits, which could be important considering UCLA was in on Roderick Pleasant. You could debate how much the NIL money and the track factor led to the Bruins not getting him. But recruiting, I think Ken Norton would help. And most importantly, just a new fresh face and a Bruin himself in Norton could help revitalize a UCLA defense that's going to go into the Big Ten with some tough defenses you have to face. So yes, you can expect to go outscore teams 42-41 every game in the Big Ten because you're going to be stuck with an Iowa who can't move the ball, but they can certainly defend the living, whatever you want to say. They can play some good defense under Kirk Ferentz over there. That's just one of many Big Ten teams the Bruins are going to have to face when they kind of just figure out the schedule moving forward in the divisions. So I think, hey, in-house Ken Norton Jr. has the experience, could be that guy to step up. Maybe this was, hey, we have McGovern, not sure what the plan was, but McGovern for 2 years, and then maybe Ken Norton gets, assimilated to the program, and then that goes, and he takes over the job. But maybe 1 year sooner, Ken Norton can step in and take over the job. Either way, I think he's a good option in-house to elevate him and become the defensive coordinator, considering his experience. And if you need someone, hey, you already got an two-time NFL defensive coordinator on your staff. You're losing a D coordinator potentially with Bill McGovern. That's a guy to go to. That is number one. Who could the Bruins go get that's still available? Ironically, out of the Big Ten, I've seen this mentioned. I did some research looking, hey, you guys mentioned it on social media. Who is this guy? Or, why? Wait, this guy's still available? Let's look at and talk about who is still available. Potentially, if the Bruins want to go outside of their own realm and use their Big Ten ties and go get somebody. You guys may know who I'm talking about. Either way, we're going to talk more about LinkedIn jobs because, everything is tied into being either a small business owner or a hiring manager. And it's still being early in 2023. Your success can still depend and will depend on the team members you surround yourself with, which is why you need to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you hire the qualified candidates with more efficiency, match those open roles with the skills, values, and experience to help you achieve your goals in 2023. You can have identification. It can help identify the qualified candidates. You can get easy to screen and rate applicants based on their job qualifications all in one platform. Small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, now as we move on here with Locked On UCLA, who is that second option I was talking about? People have already thrown this on social media, so this wasn't my first guy off the top of my head. I don't really know who was tweeting it, but this is a good option. Jim Leonhard, the former Wisconsin defensive coordinator, the former Badger himself, the interim head coach who thought he had a chance for the head job. He also said near bowl season in 2022 he was going to stick on as the defensive coordinator of the Badgers. And then after the bowl game, things kind of got shaky there, and he would not be returning under the new regime out in Madison, Wisconsin. So for a guy who coming into 2022 had one of the perennially super good defenses. He had, in 2021, number 1 ranked total defense, first against the run, third against scoring defense, third in passing yards in terms of just a good defense for Wisconsin. They had All-American linebackers, draft picks galore, and they did lose a lot of talent, and then the coach got fired. So the defense wasn't the same with the amount of talent missing, and then the fact that Leonhard had to become or did not have to, but he became the interim head coach. You could wonder how the difference between his coordinating duties and his coaching duties meshed, and he was one of the couple of favorites to potentially become the Wisconsin coach. But again, his 6 seasons on the staff prior to 2022, scoring defense was 17 points per game. Total yards allowed was 284. Efficient defense, one of the best. Rushing defense, 103 yards per game. Opponents' third down conversions, 30% since 2016. And mind you, he was a former Badger. So NFL gigs, everything, were getting turned down, considering he thought maybe he could be the Wisconsin head coach. And a 3-time All-American for Jim Leonhard. And, sorry about the brain fart there, but you have Jim Leonhard, who was spectacular. 3-time All-American player, and he sits there and he found a way to get top recruits and keep going and make sure he was the guy. So for Jim Leonhard, you can find ways to say, hey, he's from the Big Ten. He knows that country. Is this a way to stick it to his alma mater? I'm not sure you always want to do that. Considering what Ken Norton started at the bitter rival across town during their success, you have Leonhard sitting here, open, available, who thought he could be a coordinator once again with his alma mater. And then here we are, the Bruins could go get, hey, if Chip Kelly wants to go wow the fans, go get a Jim Leonhard. Go say, hey, if there's not weird reworkings in his contract that he can't go get hired from a new Big Ten school or anybody in the Big Ten the next year or two, who knows what his contract may have stipulated once he left Wisconsin. But the Bruins could get a good guy who's available. Those are 2 guys. Whether it's attainable to go get Leonhard or whether it's reasonable to just elevate Ken Norton, I think those are pretty excellent options to go if you're going to move Bill McGovern or move away from Bill McGovern, as the reports are kind of indicating internally. Nothing official publicly, but if that's the way, UCLA could go after Jim Leonhard or Ken Norton. Leonhard, solid option, and the Bruins could go after him. Good defense, those numbers before this last year in 2022 was an excellent guy. Excellent defense for Wisconsin, the Big Ten, where you have to play good defense and compete year in and year out. So those are 2 guys UCLA could look at football-wise to go potentially, if it does happen, if Bill McGovern is not the defensive coordinator, whether he's in a different role as an analyst, whatever that means, however it's going to stipulate, the Bruins have some options. Number 1, Leonhard in terms of available on the open market, and then Ken Norton Jr., a guy that's simply in your backyard, former Bruin, knows what it takes to be successful from the good old days. Go get it, and UCLA can find a way to be successful defensively in 2023. Now, as we move into this last segment for Locked On UCLA, we'll talk some hoops, considering the intrigue about the success for the Bruins, but we'll tell you about Built Bar. For Locked On UCLA, just know if you're listening, watching, whatever, you may be looking for a delicious treat and you don't want all the fat and calories, you got to try a Built Bar. If you've gotten through the holidays, ate not as healthy as you would have liked, well, you've got to try Built, because with Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious, you won't even think it's good for you, but it's actually perfect for you're still maintaining your New Year's resolutions, or you're trying to eat a little bit healthier after the big game, the Super Bowl the other day. If you had a bunch of barbecue like I did, you're going to want a Built Bar to kind of fill yourself up with 100% real chocolate, a bunch of protein, but pretty low in the calories, only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar. Go run to Built.com and get yourself a 4-bar box from the local Built.com or from your local Walmart, Sam's Club, 13-bar boxes with churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond flavors. Trust me, you're going to want a Built Bar. Go to BuiltBar.com. You will thank me later. But for UCLA, in basketball, man, what a week. They had to be one of the winners of the week for hoops, right? You think about it, UCLA is now ranked number 4 in the country after the most recent week, after the most recent poll. And surprisingly, Alabama number one, considering a few weeks ago they got blasted by Oklahoma, but yeah, Alabama, Houston, Purdue, and then UCLA, with Arizona tumbling out of the top four all the way to number 8, and the Bruins staying ahead of Kansas, Texas, Virginia, Arizona, Baylor, Tennessee, excuse me. That is your top 10. So UCLA, after what I said, was their toughest road matchup of the season left. Utah and Colorado, as I've said before, could very well find themselves competing in those games coming up, considering they gave the Bruins some struggles. Utah should be able to play a lot better, but they've been slumping as of late. But this week it is Stanford and Cal. UCLA 21-4, and all of a sudden it went from Oregon in the tournament, USC sliding out, to USC's holding on. Oregon's out after that, or still out after that loss to UCLA, and the Bruins have slowly slid up potentially to a 1 seed, which again remains to be seen. Is the debate to be the hunter or the hunted? Either way, would you rather be a 1 seed out west or be forced to go away from the West Coast, away from the Sacramento, Vegas first round, second round regional play to head into the Final Four, make your path to Houston, where the Final Four is being played this season? But UCLA, they've been trending upwards. I believe, 4 wins now after the 2 losses in a row. Funny enough, both back-to-back fashion. So when UCLA plays well, they play it well in bunches. When they don't play well and they can't find a way to win, it goes back-to-back, and you can argue both away from home, both stints of losses. So here the Bruins are simply rising up the standings as Purdue looks more and more beatable. Alabama, you're not entirely sure, but they've got very great wins this year. And then Houston, you just have to outgrind in terms of teams that are ahead of UCLA in terms of defensive efficiency. So UCLA defensively, every time they play, will be in every one of these games. It's up to the Bruins to shoot efficiently, heading forward, and you can't take Stanford lightly, considering they put up so many points against Arizona. Cal took Arizona State to overtime recently in their most recent trip. So the Bruins at home should not let these slip, considering cupcake games. They should be looked at the schedule, and the Bruins are at home, where they have not lost at home in front of fans since before COVID. They have not lost in, I believe now, almost over a year since they lost to Oregon during the weird only friends and family were allowed in the building during the little surge last season. So here the Bruins are rising 3 spots, almost more than I thought. But here they are, number 4 in the country, considering the late movement with the late upset before the game, the Super Bowl, with Purdue coming up and losing to Northwestern on the road. So the Bruins could be on the verge with one more Purdue loss potentially and a UCLA sweep of the rest of the regular season, which will be tough, but you add a potential Arizona win on that resume, which might not look as good considering their loss to Stanford. But a win with that, and the Bruins could be moving up in the right direction. Not exactly a full analysis of what the Bruins are doing today, but it's nice to see they're number 4 in the country. They're cruising. Heck, even the women rebounding, finding ways to win, and working their way to wins over Oregon State and Oregon as well. So here the Bruins are looking for success, on the precipice of it, and growing up into the tournament. And on the men's side, Mick Cronin's got his team playing well. As long as they avoid the traps of playing teams that are at the bottom of the standings in the Pac-12, the Bruins should be set for another week, and barring more upsets, could be as high as number 3 or number 2 by the next rankings. And while they don't have any more ranked opponents left until they play Arizona at the end of the season, you win all these games. Not exactly all quad 1 wins or even quad 2 wins sometimes, like this week won't be. But the Bruins can find themselves building for success, and that's why we are excited here on Locked On UCLA. In the meantime, I'm Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer saying, all right, let's wrap things up. We will talk to you again tomorrow. We'll wait for any official news that they're recording this podcast. There's been nothing publicly official other than one report talking about Bill McGovern not being the defensive coordinator. So we'll have to wait and see what actually is going on. What's the reasoning for it, if they'll actually give it to us or not. Hoops, both sides trending up. Softball, I believe, Taylor Tinsley, a no-hitter. Boom, and baseball starts. We will have a baseball preview coming up here with Locked On UCLA. Hands up, Bruins fans. Go check out Locked On College Basketball, a great second listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. And It's a clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA. Fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. I'm Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer telling you to say, go Bruins, baby. Let's go Bruins. Let's rock and roll.